What is up, cheeseheads? Welcome back to BAM GPG. So, gonna be honest with you guys right off the top here. This one hurts, right? Especially against Chicago Bears. Not only that it is a playoff loss ending the 2025-2026 season, but again, Bryson, it's the way we lost. This wasn't just a loss, it was a collapse, right? The Green Bay Packers, we were up 21-3 at halftime. Everything was looking great. Things were clicking both offensively and defensively against the Chicago Bears in a playoff game in Chicago. And somehow we walked out of this game with a devastating season ending loss to, you know, not just any team, right? Our biggest rivals, the Chicago Bears. And this one hurts, right? And what makes this one hurt even more is that I don't think the Packer players, honestly, I don't think they got outplayed this game. What I think happened is they got out coached once again.
Yeah, I was like, at halftime, we went to the game. At halftime, I was like, we're going to Seattle. And then we just
Yeah,
had this massive collapse.
absolutely. For 30 minutes of football, that first half, Green Bay looked like the better football team, period. Right. And the offense, again, they looked balanced on offense. The defense, they looked aggressive. And the Bears, they looked rattled that first half, right? Everything that you want in a playoff game, right? Especially against your division rivals. And the Packers had it during the first half, right? They were dictating the tempo. They were really looked confident out on the field, Bryson. They were in
Yeah.
control of that football game for 30 minutes last night. And then halftime happened, right? And
Yeah. I do not know what that halftime speech was, but it had to have been a bad one.
it wasn't great, right? We came out. This is where things really started to go sideways with Green Bay, and you kind of got the sense, if we didn't come out of halftime and do something with the football right away, that this, could turn ugly quickly. And we didn't. We came out of halftime. I believe it was three and outs in a row there in the third quarter. You can't do it, right? Again, that's where I truly believe things went sideways for this team. You can't come out flat like that. After the game, again, in this press conference, again, Matt LaFleur mentioned that, Chicago did make some changes, kind of patting that box a little bit in the second half there to help control the run game. And they made those adjustments defensively. Chicago did. Green Bay did nothing to counter that, right? And he openly admitted that last night. He openly admitted it today in his press conference that Green Bay just did not counter what the Bears came out and did in the second half there. So just let that sink in for a minute, right? In a playoff game against the Chicago Bears, one of your biggest rivals, right, Bryson,
Mhm.
with a trip on the line, as you mentioned, to Seattle. The Bears adjusted and we did not. So that's not execution. That's not an execution problem, Bryson. That's, we just didn't coach properly, right?
Yeah.
That's all on coaching. Again, not an execution problem, 100% on coaching.
Yeah. And I also think it was on coaching, but Brandon McManus.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And this isn't something new with McManus. Fans have been chirping
Yeah.
pretty much all season with this guy, right? He had the hamstring issue. He went out. Haversack came in. The substitute school teacher came in, kicking 60-yard franchise setting record field goals.
61.
Yeah, 61, and then McManus. I think he saw what was happening, rushed himself back in, and it was ugly. It's
See, I think that's the thing that messed his season up. He rushed himself in.
Special teams have been bad, right?
Yes.
I don't understand what this infatuation is with LaFleur and Bisaccia. I don't understand. He's the
Yeah.
highest paid special teams coordinator in the game. For what reason?
Yeah,
Right?
he needs to get out.
Green Bay, this isn't just a this year problem, right?
Yeah.
We're looking back several years. Green Bay consistently ranks near or at the bottom in special teams year after year. And then meanwhile, we're just giving Rich Bisaccia pay raises every year. It doesn't make sense for Green Bay. He has to go, right? Bisaccia for sure has to go. We'll get into LaFleur here a little bit too, but Bryson, again, I want to get back to the second half. When they came out, went three and out, the offense, it stalled. This is where things changed immediately for the Green Bay Packers. That offense stalled. The drives got shorter, almost every drive the second half there, and the play calling. Once again, second half of football, you have a big lead. The other, your opponent's starting to come back. The play calling got way too predictable once again. We've seen it all year. Um, and it's annoying, right? As a fan to be watching that and see that happening in real time, it's annoying. And instead of attacking what the Bears were showing you, right? They knew the adjustments the Bears were making. LaFleur said it in both preference or press conferences, right? There's no hiding the fact. Um, they weren't adjusting for what the Bears were showing. And it felt like we kept calling the same concepts, just kind of hoping
Yeah.
they magically start working, right? They weren't defensively, right? The pressure, it faded in that second half. Caleb Williams was pretty much able to do whatever he wanted in that second half. The energy dipped, and the Bears, they settled in, they got comfortable in the second half. This wasn't, a Chicago suddenly got unbeatable type of moment here in this game. This was a Green Bay, coaching staff letting them back into the game last night.
Well, yeah, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when the Falcons gave up that 28-3 lead, I'm pretty sure Matt LaFleur was their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, he's got a history of this. And what makes this loss so frustrating again too, Bryson, is that you can live in the playoffs getting beat by a better team. We saw that last year in Philadelphia. You got beat by a better team in Philadelphia last year, right?
Well, and that was a Super Bowl winner too, so
It was. You can live with those type of losses. You can live with the injuries, right? Green Bay had a plethora of injuries, right? You get that. You can live by, players making mistakes throughout the game, right? You see that time and time again, especially with young teams. You start to see players making mistakes, and maybe you see the, penalties starting to pile up on you, or drop passes, things
mhm.
like that, or miss routes, missed assignments, etc. Right? But this game, it truly didn't feel like any of those for the Packers. It felt like a game that the Packers and the coaching staff get away. A 21-3 halftime lead in the playoffs absolutely should be a win for your team, and that's it. Period. When it's not, you have to ask the harder questions, Bryson. And
Yeah,
I
uh, and also, it looked like we had Joe Barry out there again.
second half, it absolutely didn't. A lot of that is you're putting too much pressure on your defense when your offense is continuing to go three and out on every one of their drives.
Mhm.
Eventually something's going to break there on the defense, and it did.
Yeah.
Right? Now I want to be clear with everyone. This isn't a fire everyone type of rant here, right? But at some point, these patterns start to matter, right? Slow adjustments from the coaching staff, playing not to lose, right? Predictable football, letting, momentum flip without answering back at all. Right. When your head coach says out loud in a press conference that the opponent made an adjustment on defense and you didn't, that's a red flag from the coaching staff. That doesn't mean Matt LaFleur isn't a good coach, right? Don't get me wrong on that. It does mean that the staff, they really need to seriously evaluate how they handle the in-game adversity, right? And so, where does Green Bay?
Um, I feel like last year we were a second half team. This year we're a first half team. But like, can we just be a both half team like other playoff teams?
It's very frustrating, and there are a lot of questions today on Matt LaFleur. Should he remain the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, right? And 100%, right? Last night, I felt the exact same way. I had to sleep on it tonight, and I don't know if it's necessarily the right answer, but I wouldn't be upset if it was the answer that Ed Policy decided to go with. Now, Bryson, hypothetically, if I were the president of the Green Bay Packers, I don't know, again, I don't know if I would fire Matt LaFleur right now, absolutely, but what I would do is make some real changes around him, right? That starts with the coordinators. Offensive coordinator, I think LaFleur needs to give up the play calling duties, manage the game, let somebody else take over those duties, right? And Rich Bisaccia, he's got to go. You're going to have to be looking for a new defensive coordinator this offseason because most likely Jeff Halfley is going to get that head coaching job elsewhere.
Well, I feel like we put Mike McDaniel at offensive coordinator.
I wouldn't be opposed for it, right?
Yeah.
But here's some of my reasoning, straight and honest reasoning for this one here, Bryson. The floor for Green Bay it's still very high, right? It's a young team. LaFleur, he consistently gets his team competitive in the playoff mix and really prepared week to week, right? That matters. A coaching change right now, it could be a huge risk for this organization, especially with a youngish quarterback in Jordan Love's 27, going to be 28 years old. The window and roster continuity, right? It still hasn't fully peaked for the Green Bay Packers. So firing him doesn't fix the actual problems that you see right now. The biggest issues, they haven't been the culture, right? The locker room seems to be great, hasn't been the effort. Players seem to show up every week and play, and the locker room buy-in seems to be there, right? Great character guys in the locker room, they're all saying and doing the right things. So that doesn't seem to be the issue for the Green Bay Packers. Now, what they have been is these late game decision making, situational football, playoff execution. We saw it dating back to the Aaron Rodgers days, and really offensively and defensively been inconsistent, especially late in games when you're trying to finish it out with a big lead, right? Those are fixable problems, right? Those are all fixable problems without burning everything down, right? And I think that starts by surrounding him with the right people. And who are you going to replace him with, right? Unless you have a clear, right, elite upgrade right now. Lined up, and maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't know. I hear a lot of talk about Harbaugh. I'm not necessarily sold on Harbaugh just because he has some Midwest roots. That doesn't mean anything on the football field to
Well,
me.
maybe we could get that John Gruden guy.
Gruden, he is. I might buy into Gruden, absolutely, but if you don't have a guy like that lined up, you don't move on right now. The NFL history, it's brutal when you make a coaching change, thinking the grass is greener on the other side, with some of these fires and hires. Right? If I'm the president, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell Matt LaFleur this directly. Right? You're the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, but the standard, it's changed. You're right. I'm now the head of the Green Bay Packers. The standards changed. We're not running this, doing the same old thing, hoping something will magically change once again. If the defense can't stop the run game, adjust in game, the same with the offense. If they can't make these in game adjustments, hold up in January football, the staff changes, they're absolutely mandatory, not optional for the Green Bay Packers. The late game control for the Packers, playoff losses, they keep following the same exact script. Doesn't matter who's under center for the Green Bay Packers. You see conservative stretches, questionable clock management, and really momentum swings that we're not able to stop. We're not able to counter. Right. This one has to improve immediately for the Green Bay Packers, or the conversation absolutely changes on Matt LaFleur. Now, next season for me, Bryson, this would become a prove it year. It would be the last year of Matt LaFleur's contract. I would not extend him. This would be a prove it year. He has to make a real playoff run next year, real wins against some of these elite teams in season. And no,
Yeah,
we're close narratives, right? We've heard that over the last 2 years. Sick of it. We're there. We need to see some real results. If the
yeah,
same issues keep repeating again, then yes, absolutely move on from Matt LaFleur. But fire him now, I don't know if I would, but put a warm seat and higher expectations on him. Absolutely, right? Fire him if the same playoff failures repeat again next season. Yeah, without hesitation, you do. But this year, unless you have a true candidate out there, you know, knocking down the door right now for Green Bay, I just don't know if you make that change. Again, we're so close right now. I just think you have to surround them with the right people. I think you have to. Number one, Basasius got to go. Number two, you have to get a true offensive coordinator in there, somebody who's going to manage the offensive side of the game in game and be the play caller, right? Um, LaFleur likes that. Again, he's got to remove himself from that, right? He is the head coach. Bring in an offensive coordinator who aligns with what uh, type of scheme and type of offense you want to run, and let them control that facet of the game. Um, but we'll see what Green Bay does. I know Ed Policy's supposed to have a conversation with him. I believe they said it was, from what I'm seeing online, it's either late tonight, early tomorrow morning. We'll see what comes of that. But again, after this game, Bryson, this one hurts.
yeah,
It should hurt all Packer fans, absolutely. But sometimes, the most painful losses they institute growth for the team, right? It's going to bring changes. Green Bay's got to improve some things on the team. Number one, cornerback. You can't roll out Keyshawn Nixon as your cornerback one next year and Nate Hobbs as your cornerback two. Something has to change there.
Yeah.
And you got to beef up both on the offensive line and the defensive line for the Green Bay Packers. So we'll get more in depth of that. We got a long off season now. So we'll break down what needs to change, what it's going to look like this off season, and maybe we'll see a coaching change. Well, we should hear some more news on that here in the next several days. What's happening with LaFleur? Is he going to go? Is he going to stay? Who around him goes? Who around him stays? So that should be interesting. And we'll be back. We'll be. I mean, we're in off season now. It's going to be all speculation up until the draft. We don't have a first round pick, which is okay. I am fantastic with not having a first round pick. If that means we have Micah Parsons on our team, never be upset about that. So let us know what you think. You know, did the Packers get outplayed? Did they get out coached? Where do you see the Packers going with Matt LaFleur? Do you want him fired? Do you want to hang it on one more year, kind of a prove it year with no extension in sight? Let us know in the comments. And as always,
Let's go, Pack, go.